Don't be surprised when you see that the government oppresses the poor and denies them justice and their rights. Every official is protected by someone higher, and both are protected by still higher officials. Even a king depends on the harvest. If you love money, you will never be satisfied. If you long to be rich, you will never get all you want. It is useless. The richer you are, the more mouths you have to feed. All you gain is the knowledge that you are rich. Workers may or may not have enough to eat, but at least they can get a good night's sleep. The rich, however, have so much that they stay awake worrying. Here is a terrible thing that I have seen in this world. People save up their money for a time when they may need it and then lose it all in some bad deal and end up with nothing left to pass on to their children. We leave this world just as we entered it, with nothing. In spite of all our work, there is nothing we can take with us. It isn't right. We go just as we came. We labor, trying to catch the wind, and what do we get? We get to live our lives in darkness and grief, worried, angry, and sick. Here is what I have found out. The best thing we can do is eat and drink and enjoy what we have worked for during the short life that God has given us. This is our faith. If God gives us wealth and property and lets us enjoy them, we should be grateful and enjoy what we have worked for. It is a gift from God. Since God has allowed us to be happy, we will not worry too much about how short life is. I have noticed that in this world a serious injustice is done. God will give us wealth, honor, and property, yes, everything we want, but then will not let us enjoy it. Some stranger will enjoy it instead. It is useless, and it just isn't right. We may have 100 children and live a long time, but no matter how long we live, if we do not get our share of happiness and do not receive a decent burial, then I say that a baby born dead is better off. It does that baby no good to be born. It disappears into darkness where it is forgotten. It never sees the light of day or knows what life is like, but at least it has found rest. More so than the man who never enjoys life, though he may live 2,000 years. After all, both of them are going to the same place. We do all our work just to get something to eat, but we never have enough. How are the wise better off than fools? What good does it do the poor to know how to face life? It is useless. It is like chasing the wind. It is better to be satisfied with what you have than to be always wanting something else. Everything that happens was already determined long ago, and we all know that you cannot argue with someone who is stronger than you. The longer you argue, the more useless it is, and you are no better off. How How can anyone know what it is best for us in this short, useless life of ours? A life that passes like a shadow. How can we know what will happen in the world after we die? A good reputation is better than expensive perfume, and the day you die is better than the day you were born. It is better to go to a home where there is mourning than to one where there is party, because the living should always remind themselves that death is waiting for us all. Sorrow is better than laughter. It may sodden your face, but it sharpens your understanding. Someone who is always thinking about happiness is a fool. A wise person thinks about death. It is better to have wise people reprimand you than to have stupid people sing your praises. When a fool laughs, it is like thongs crackling in a fire. It doesn't mean a thing. You may be wise, but if you cheat someone, you are acting like a fool. If you take a bribe, you ruin your character. The end of something is better than its beginning. Patience is better than pride. Keep your temper under control. It is foolish to harbor a grudge. Never ask, "Oh, why were things so much better in the old days?" It's not an intelligent question. Everyone who lives ought to be wise. It is as good as receiving an inheritance, and will give you as much security as money can. Wisdom keeps you safe. This is the advantage of knowledge. Think about what God has done. How can anyone straighten out what God has made crooked? When things are going well for you, be glad. And when trouble comes, just remember, God sends both happiness and trouble. You never know what is going to happen next. My life has been useless, but in it I have seen everything. Some good people may die while others live on, even though they are evil. So don't be too good or too wise. Why kill yourself? But don't be too wicked or too foolish either. Why die before you have to? Avoid both extremes. If you have reverence for God, you will be successful anyway. Wisdom does more for a person than 10 rulers can do for a city. There is no one on earth who does what is right all the time and never makes a mistake. Don't pay attention to everything people say. You may hear your servant insulting you, and you know yourself that you have insulted other people many times. I used my wisdom to test all of this. I was determined to be wise, but it was beyond me. How can anyone discover what life means? It is too deep for us, too hard to understand. But I devoted myself to knowledge and study. I was determined to find wisdom and the answers to my questions, and to learn how wicked and foolish stupidity is.